Maysalun Faraj is set up INSIA, International Network of Contemporary Iraqi Art. You can look it up on the internet. And that set a base for all the work that I've been doing and a lot of works that have been happening. As a woman from quite a traditional background, she represents for me that sort of encompassing Iraqiness in many ways, including and especially in her work. And what she was doing was gathering. From the mid-90s, her work was gathering these Iraqis that have come out into the diaspora and sort of spread out already from quite a while ago. So by 2000, I joined her and we gathered like over 130 artists, and from them made an exhibition of over 35 artists at the Brunei Gallery and produced this book. There's a connection between Iraqi art and our culture. Iraq is a country of contrast, and one of the interesting things you have with the archaeology is that, you know, the writing was indentations in clay, and over here you have a cylinder seal where it's rolled and you get a narrative coming out of it that are reliefs. So literally in Iraq, you're reading with light. It's not ink, it's just... Here's a work by Maysalun Faraj using that sort of technique. And over there, and this is one of the other things, it's all these works that have been disappearing from the museums, the artworks, they all have narratives. They speak things that are absolutely fantastic. For example, in that cylinder seal image, there's a man over there and he's drinking beer. We introduced beer. At the time, it was the Saddam Contemporary Art Museum of Iraq, where those collections, the height of technology was stolen. We had all our Iraqi art stolen from the place and going around. And people were finding pieces in the market, literally, and gathering it back. And this is part of what I'm trying to speak about in these short things, is how do we gather? People naturally gathering. And Iraqi art is, I believe, one of those points of gathering. And that's my grandfather. Jawad is in his arms. My father's over there. And Naziha, all of them became artists. All the children of Haji Salim. That's his own portrait over there. He represents these officers at the turn of the century who were looking for something completely new, who were wanting to break through and actually looking for the promise of Western civilization. And they became artists. He was an engineer as well. And amongst other things, he helped create a train of refugees from the Armenian massacres in Turkey. He was imprisoned and etc. for that sort of thing. So Iraq has also been this conduit of gathering people. Now it's strange to think about it because we are exporting all these people, of people who have actually come to Iraq for refuge. Another of the first artists was Abdul Qadir Rassam, and an image that comes always is the river and the land around it. And I want you to put in mind that little boat over there, which is coracle, called the Guffa. One of my own works, Survivors, was ripped up. It's an expression from this war. But the thing that I love about Iraq is that, and also it's a paradox in art, is that there's a sense of perfection. That boat is called a mashhouf from the marshes of Iraq. It's perfect. And it has been the same shape from Sumerian times. It's a sculptural object. And you find that this art that my grandfather and others were saying, it's this attempt to create this, what we call contemporary art. There's a paradox there between that promise and that attempt and the living in art, which we find in a lot of traditional societies, where it's your clothes, it's your buildings, it's where you live that is the art, how you live that is the art. It's one of the things that we lost, and as we're losing the country as well. And literally losing the country. I mean, a major issue that we're facing now is the loss of the waters of the Tigris and Euphrates. There are being dams built all around the country, where the marshes, for example, of Iraq have practically, they're down to, I think it was 30%. There's an attempt to return it. So part of my art and what I'd like to do is how to gather attention to this again. And it's a gathering. Iraq, you look at the map. I used to be an illustrator, and that's one of my illustrations. You look at the map of Iraq and you see how the mountains and the waters It's all a gathering, and a big gathering into these rivers of peoples. And this goes to prehistoric times. People are moving and gathering in that place. It's as if what's happening is that we're losing these rivers, we're losing the, and it's as if what is below the land has become above. There's a map of the oil reserves in Iraq. It's this separating. It's the river that joined us, the oil that is sort of spreading us. Tala Ra'fat is this bench, and what's behind over there is by Faisal Al-Aibi. These are the two works, even though that wasn't an original. But the bench really got me, because here's something, again, that gathers. This artist made something that, it's that coffee house bench. What better sort of expression of democracy is that? It's now in a collection in main museum in Sweden. Another green zone, red zone in Gemak in Den Haag. An exhibition that I was working on. Mohammed Abdullah, a conceptual artist, he simply covered this, at the time there's all these bombings, a car with a yashmah. And you should have seen the bicyclists going around it. It was like an immediate thing. We also brought bomb cars from the Mutanabbi Street event and showed it with the works over here of Hana Malala. A lot of the art has come down to this thing where we're trying even to understand and comprehend the destruction aesthetically. Wafa Bilal has been working with computers and the idea of internet, where he set himself up for a month in a room and had people over the internet shooting him with paintballs. It was called originally Shoot in Iraqi, but the galleries had to change to domestic violence. But that got into the news. After the war, we had this fear of what will happen to the rest of the things, like the monuments. There was destruction. For example, this is Khalid Hal's work that was called Safinat al-Ba'ath. Is this art? I believe it is art. Okay? And it's not only art, but it's an art that has had a lot of things, a lot of influence. It's giving a language to people. It's giving a means, including new monuments. So I look for things to inspire me, and I was inspired by Churchill. Okay? I read his history of an English-speaking people, and the first thing that came to mind was English-speaking. Since when have the English been speaking English? Yeah? When has Iraqis have been speaking something Semitic Akkadians? Yeah? English is a very, very new language. So that was one thing. But then he mentioned a couple of things. And one thing I noticed was the rivers. There are these, you look at England, there are all these small rivers. Hardly any of them have a mountain behind it. They come out of the ground. And it was a mess. Barbarians and people all over. They needed the Romans to come in and create roads. These are the roads that the Romans sort of created right through, like rivers, but rivers of people. You look at Iraq, and we already have those roads that join us, gather us together. And recently, there's a place over there, up there called Arbeas. That's South Fields, on the River Tyne. And apparently, there were Iraqi bargemen in the 1st, 2nd century Roman in England, over there, traveling down. So they would have been all over this part. And then we've also been finding out that from DNA samples and all sorts of things that Iraqis were flowing out of the country, and Mesopotamians from prehistoric times, and especially with agriculture. Around 10,000 BC, you had these waves of Iraqis and Mesopotamians coming through and going right through Europe, following the rivers up into this area. So we have always been here. This is an image. This is an image of a top over there. Huh? These are Gufas. Yeah, these are Gufas. But by Macedon, 1918, of British warships going up through Baghdad, traveling through Baghdad. At the moment, apparently, it's in the British embassy in Baghdad. I can get the original. But there's some interesting things. It's the smokestacks, smoke going right through over here, through Baghdad with these gufwas. This is the project that I am now wanting to do. I would like to bring Mesopotamia on Thames. And I would like to see how to build gufwas I want 7 gufas to be built and to travel right down the Thames and to have all sorts of Iraqis from all the backgrounds that have gone out. We've got the Turkmans, Mandarin, the different Christians, the different Shias, all of these people are here. Can we do that? We need to have not only you, but we need also the Iraqi Cultural Center and all these different people. Okay? Everybody to get 7 gufas and teach them over here or reintroduce Iraqi, booklet,